Welcome to Austin Now. I'm Tom Spencer. This week we'll reflect on Austin's musical past while catching up on our high-tech future. Austin's techies will put down their wireless control pads and share how Austin is becoming one of the nation's leaders in game development. In our headline interview, Chris Sherman, Executive Director of the Austin Game Initiative, and Sheri Ray, Sony's Senior Game Designer, will talk about the upcoming Austin Game Conference. Joining me now is Chris Sherman, who is the Executive Director of the Austin Game Conference, and Sheri Ray, representative of the Women's Game Conference. And we're going to be talking about the gaming industry here in Austin. First off, welcome to the program. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
How big a center of gaming, electronic gaming, is Austin?
Well, Austin has about 50 companies that are involved in one way. 50 companies, from large companies like Sony and Microsoft have studios here, to smaller companies that are, design shops, game design shops, or animation studios that focus on games, all the way to companies like Criterion Software that are here that do middleware, to Metroworks, which is a unit of Motorola, or now Freescale, that does also software for game development.
That's really a figure that shocked me. I was thinking, 2 or 3 companies located here. Where do we rank on the national scale, Sheri?
We are number 3 in the country right now. Second to...
probably Seattle and
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Probably.
Okay.
Right.
Well, the usual suspects for the tech industry. Now, there's a big conference that you're involved in, obviously. That's why we're talking today about the gaming industry. It's going to be happening in September. Tell us about the conference.
It's the 9th and 10th of September. It's down at the Convention Center. And it's the second year that we're doing it. It's really designed to be an international event. It's not specifically for the companies here in Austin, although they're very much encouraged to attend. The real focus of the event is online games, multiplayer games, and then we have the Women's Game Conference, which is focused on women in games and for women, for games for women as well.
You say multiplayer games. Is this describe what that means for the audience out there like me, who's completely analog, and I gave up games with the joystick era.
Sure. I think it's been about 10 years now since MMOGs, massively multiplayer games, have come to the market.
Sure.
And essentially, it's right now it's predominantly computer based. So you buy the retail box, and then you put it in and log it on, install it on your computer, and then log on and pay a subscription, and you can play online. It's kind of a never-ending saga, if you will, where the goals change constantly, and you create a character and enjoy the gameplay experience. And now that's evolution, or that gameplay experience is soon to be coming to the console systems, the Xboxes and the PlayStations. And that's primarily what this conference is focused on.
And I take it you play with folks from all over the world if you're playing online.
Exactly. They're called massively multiplayer games, or MMOGs for short, and that's because you're playing with literally thousands or tens of thousands of people online at the same time.
Sounds like it could get a little confusing.
It can.
Now, what's the evolution in games? Are we going to get to a point where basically you strap on a pair of goggles or a device and you're in some kind of other environment with people from all over the world? Are we going to get to that point of reality with these things, where you feel like you're in that environment?
Already the graphics capability of the new PC cards and the PCs, you're not strapping anything on yet, but the environment is so immersive. Everything from shadows and facial expressions and the reflections of lights bouncing off the eyes and that type of thing. You're already seeing some of that artificial intelligence and some of that depth and perception in the graphics.
Yeah, that's one of the things that it strikes me about when I look at a screen, when I see people playing these games now, they look nothing like what I remember from the Atari days.
No.
Completely different experience.
Right,
now,
and we also, in the whole virtual reality with the headsets and the hand gloves and all that became kind of price prohibitive in just the hardware aspect of it. So there was kind of a surge in that area probably 8 or 9 years ago in the industry, and now we're leaning more towards experimenting with some innovative interfaces such as the iToy, which is completely no hardware interface at all. It's all virtual. And essentially our virtual realities have become these massively multiplayer worlds, which are living and breathing and thriving worlds with their own economies and their own. I think somebody did a study and found out that the GPA of the online worlds was ranking right up there with some of the top in the world of the developed nations in the world.
What you just described is kind of a physical relationship with the game, and I'm wondering if that's one of the next steps in game evolution as well. As we tend to think of games as being very static, you know, thumbs and fingers kinds of things, and you're just kind of sitting there kind of groped over your computer. But now it sounds like you're moving in a direction where, you know, physical action is really part of what's involved.
And that's correct. With the PlayStation being 5 years old now, the game developers that are developing for the platform have had opportunities to be more creative and understand the hardware better. And to extend and to some degree, it's to extend the life of the platform. Sony wants to continue to sell more PlayStations, and new generations of players are coming forward. So this kind of physicality is now possible with some of the new technology.
Sure, it's also an opportunity to reach out beyond the traditional audience that has traditionally been targeted for game development, which has traditionally been males ages 13 to 25. But by adding this physicality and these new innovative ways to use interface, we're able to reach out beyond that, you know, kind of traditional, like you say, hunched over the machine market, and reach out to other people and other audiences that might be more intrigued with this if we can remove the device, the device that's kind of, you know, intimidating in the way. We take that out of the way and add other things to do with your body. We can open up our markets and make them accessible to other people.
Well, you say making more accessible to other people, and you don't look like a typical gamer in my imagination. I'm thinking of exactly what you just described. A young guy who, between the ages of like 13 and 25, you know, locked in a very noisy arcade somewhere. Now, how did you get involved in this industry?
I got into the game development industry because it was the only industry where I could put 15 years of playing Dungeons & Dragons on my resume as legitimate experience. I'm a hardcore gamer. I'm a very serious gamer. I'm probably 20 hours a week. And I'm interesting, and this is an interesting fact, in that what we are noticing in our markets is that our markets are skewing older. We're starting to see older people playing our games, and by older I mean over 17, 18. We're seeing up into the 40s and 50s, and sometimes even in the 60s, playing our games. We're also seeing more women beginning to play our games, and so our markets are opening up.
Now, what stood as a barrier for women in the past to these games? Because we tend to think of them as being very keyed in on that adolescent male audience. Well,
and traditionally they have been up until, you know, probably the last 5 to 8 years. It really traditionally has been targeted on that male audience. There's a whole lot of things that can be barriers to access for women. Everything from the way they portray the female characters in the game to how they present the tutorials and the way they address the learning styles that might be interested in playing these games and how they teach the games, to the viewpoint. There's some real interesting research going on right now that is beginning to indicate that women, or females more than males, get motion sick easier in first-person viewpoint games. Well, that's a barrier right there. If it's a first-person viewpoint game and you're going to get feeling sick to your stomach playing it, that may be something that prevents you from trying to play that game.
And that just talks about how real some of these games have become, is that you're actually looking out at the world through the eyes of the characters, what you mean by that.
Absolutely, first-person viewpoint, right. And so there's a lot of different things we can address. And the really interesting thing is it's not about, if we want to attract the female market, it's not about making games about fuzzy pink kitties, you know. It's about addressing things like learning style and understanding that women learn different from men, and so when we present our tutorials, we need to address these differences in learning styles and address our tutorials so that they're easier to learn for people who have other than, you know, the same learning style that a 17-year-old male has.
Well, and I understand that there's going to be a component to the upcoming conference, Chris, that's going to be focused on this issue. What else is going to be happening at the conference?
We've got a wide range of things going on for the conference. We've got Technology Pavilion that'll be kind of the centerpiece of the conference, with different companies showing off their hardware. There'll be a couple of companies recruiting, both actually all the way from Australia, coming to Austin to recruit. We're showing... we have essentially what's called a machinima theater. Machinima is the concept of merging 3D animation with immersive gameplay environments to make movies. So it's a brand new style of movie.
So you step into the game quite literally.
You actually, through the eyes of a character, a movie can be created from the movements within a game. So that's kind of interesting. Sony will be talking about its new PlayStation Portable device that's coming out, I believe, first, second quarter next year. So a lot of stuff going on at the show.
Okay, and again, the conference is going to be held when and where?
It's September 9th and 10th at the Austin Convention Center.
All right, so I hope a lot of folks from our audience will go down, the gamers in the audience and the would-be gamers. Thank you both very much.
Well, for the would-be gamers, we're actually on the 8th. We're doing a How to Break Into the Industry as well.
Okay, very good.
So.
Excellent. Good. Well, that's something I'm going to send some folks to. Thanks for joining us. That's it for now.